I'm going to give you the first question, and let's just see where your mind takes it, is what do we do? Let's say the session's done. We've tested our clients. They're giving us the thumbs up saying, yep, I'm a non-smoker, or I'm not afraid of heights anymore, or dogs barking don't scare me anymore. We've got paid. We've done everything. What do we do at that point by the time our client leaves our office and having this little downtime chat with them? What do you think we could do at this very point to actually add more power to everything we've done previously and make sure our clients don't relapse? Because this is a crucial point. Once our client leaves our office, we know big bad world's going to punch them in the face with everything the world has. But there's a couple of things that can actually occur inside your clients when they leave our office that could actually destroy all the good work we've done. So what are your thoughts? What do you think we could do to actually stop all this from happening?
I would probably start giving them post-hypnotic suggestions
Yep.
of how good they're going to be.
Yep.
And how easy it's going to be and how they can carry on.
Yep.
And be a person. So that's one thing I'd get them to do.
Mm-hmm.
What else would I get them to do? 30 minutes of silence. What else am I going to get them to do? I would. What I think. They're out in real, I think. So.
Well, let's look at the post-hypnotic suggestions side, since you gave that up. What do you mean by post-hypnotic suggestions? And give me an example of what you mean.
Okay. Probably when they're paying and all that sort of thing, I would just continue to reinforce that they're non-smokers, and like sort of explain, that if it was whatever the underlying reason was, like say if it was like Hope the other day, with choices, all I did literally is when I was walking around with her, I just literally carried on reinforcing that it was choices that she'd made, and she's made the right choice, and everything's going to be great, and she's made the right choice, and it's it's all going to be great.
Yep.
And she's made the right choice, and that sort of thing. And so by keep drilling that in, she's heard it then when she's in hypnosis, and also we've reinforced it and packed it down when she's out of it as well.
Yep, excellent.
That's what I'm trying. Yeah.
Excellent. I like that as an idea. So what actually happens inside the mind at that very point? So whether we look at it as post-hypnotic suggestions, we'll look at a couple of other things as well. What are the things that could go wrong? Let me give you an example. Let's say a client has driven to our office and we know they're going to be driving home. Let's say they've got an hour worth of driving ahead of them. What could go wrong in that very hour by the time they leave our office to the time they get home? What do you think could occur?
They can sit there and they can, if they're stuck in traffic, they'll sit there and analyse or try to analyse what's actually happened and what's occurred.
Excellent. And what's the downside with that?
Well, then it will unpick itself.
Why would that be?
Sorry?
Why would that be?
Why? Because the conscious mind is going to try and come online and jeopardise. Because at the point when they've left, I would suggest that potentially the unconscious mind is still ahead, or it's still trying to catch up. So the conscious and unconscious aren't in sync again. So it's still trying to sort of come back online. So to speak, and the conscious mind just go, that's just bollocks, that I'll have a fat, or I'll just have some chocolate, and it's not waiting to the appropriate time for the conscious mind for it to catch up, both sides to catch up with each other.
Yes, I agree 100%. So what's going to happen? Let's say our client Joe Bloggs has left our office. He's feeling great about everything. As soon as he gets in his car, which was basically a demarcation, him driving is going to take him away from the session. So it's going to be two different scenarios happening at once. It's that breaking point between the two. Is all it's going to take for Joe, as you said, is for him to overanalyze everything as well, and also give himself some negative suggestions like, well, I don't think it worked, or I don't feel like I was in trance, or I don't even really still believe I was in hypnosis. And these are extreme cases. Our clients could walk away without their problem, feeling fantastic, never wanting to smoke or anything again. But the extreme examples is they take it to a point where they say things like, well, I was expecting it to be something else, or I was expecting it to be something different. It'd be like going to a restaurant, having a fantastic meal, really enjoying yourself, and then on drive home going, you know what? I thought the food would taste a little bit different. Maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. you know what, thinking about that, man, I didn't even like the restaurant really. They were rude, the waiters didn't come, and all these negative processes start to unfold and they start to snowball out of control. And then by the time Joe gets home, after an hour's time of suggesting negative things to himself, he calls us up and says, it hasn't worked. I feel like a cigarette, or I still feel the same about things. So you're 100% correct. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to put into place, and whether we call it post-hypnotic suggestions or there's other versions of it, we'll discuss those as well. But I like where you're going, the fact where we know the unconscious mind's going to learn a lot quicker, and we know it's going to take some conscious rationalization and some conscious activity for it to all catch up. And, you know, when they do catch up and become in sync, if you will, that's when the aha moments come together. That's where the process starts to unfold perfectly. What we look at this is called basically is there's an integration process.
Right.
There has to be an integration process from the unconscious mind. And if we break it down even more to more layman's term, I call it the trial and error stage. We know that if a client leaves our office, they can feel great only because, and this is the key, only because of the session they've just left. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like, to take another metaphor, you go to a movies, you feel great after the movie, you feel inspired and everything's great. A couple of hours later, it dies off.
Yeah.
So they leave our session having a great time, feeling fantastic about things, and they are on that therapeutic high that a session can give them. And then after, a few hours can go by, they start to lose that energy, they start to lose that excitement, and the real world comes back in and things start to get a little bit different. So there is an integration process. Now, this trial and error stage can and will continue maybe for the next hour, the next 2 hours, the next 3 hours, the next day, the next 2 days, the next week, up to months. It was Erickson who said himself that it would take some of his clients years to get something out of the sessions that he did. That's how long the integration process took. Okay? And we know there's an integration process because of the fact our clients still feel like they're in trance even though they've left the session.
Yeah.
Okay? They'll still feel a little bit zoned out. They'll still be on that imaginary hypnotic border where they could sort of go into trance or come out of trance. They still feel a bit lightheaded. They still might be getting the same sensations from the trance they're in an office with. And what this is the integration process occurring. This is the unconscious mind still in action, which means it's still doing the very work it was doing in the session.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want our clients to do is consciously analyze what's occurring and then ruin everything we've done. It's basically to say that we don't want them to interfere with the unconscious mind doing its work. So how do we stop this? How are we going to have a client stop thinking about the session that we just did and just tell them to get on about their day? How are we going to put all this together? What sorts of things do you think, just to make it easy for starters, what sort of things would we need to tell our client about the session they've just had?
Tell them how easy it is, how good they were at doing it, and how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It has already worked, so you don't need to worry about it.
Yep. So we can definitely include that. What else could we do?
We could... Can you do, like, change the subject completely for them? So that if they change the subject, that because they've come in to see, say, for weight loss, and then if you change their subject completely on leaving, will they take that change of subject away, or will they?
They could. So there'll be a demarcation. So it's a good way to demarcate our clients is to pull them out of trance, and then once everything's unwrapped itself and everything's good to go and they're about to leave the office, is to change the subject entirely. NLP call it a pattern break. Hypnotherapy, we call it a demarcation. So we demarcate them away from the trance as much as possible and talk about something that's so polar opposite so they do forget. Okay, absolutely. When they're in that presence, we can do that. I'm more thinking about what happens when they're in the car. That's where they're going to start to influence themselves, and that can be a dangerous point for them.
Yeah, what can we do there?
What could we do?
We're not with them, so we can't.
Exactly. And we're not always going to get this right. And this can be one of the downfalls to any sort of therapy is once they leave our office, it's basically they're out of our hands.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Question. Good question. I know the answer, but it's buried somewhere. Because you've obviously told me the answer at some point.
Yes. You've actually seen me do it in the demonstration you were talking about before, with the stop smoking demonstration we did at the last certification. I actually put this process into place, but obviously didn't highlight it to the extent that not so much that we could have, because it was irrelevant at that point, but there is something important we need to do, and we do need to talk about.
No, we can't say don't think about it because your mind won't process it. Don't. So we will think about it. Shit. I was probably out of the room. I was probably walking hope round when you actually did that. No.
Give you this as an idea. Our clients are going to think about the session regardless.
Yeah.
It's impossible to stop them.
Yeah. So you've got to think about how good it was. You've got to convince them that it's worked, so that they don't have to analyze it.
Yep. Well, we hope we would have done that through the session. If we got some hypnotic phenomena, we would have convinced them that it works. So that'll be out of the equation. We know that our clients are going to think about stuff. We as human beings think about random stuff all the time. So instead of trying to say to them, like you said, tell them don't think about the session, how about we assume they're going to think about the session anyway and tell them what they should think about instead of telling what they shouldn't think about.
That sounds like a plan.
And by actually thinking about certain things is actually going to help the process that we've just taken them through. So it actually works both ways in our favor.
I did have it right, but didn't say it. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So if our client is going to think, we need to let them know what's worthwhile thinking about, what they shouldn't even think about, but knowing they're probably going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But just highlight the important parts and let them know, give them almost a reward for thinking the right thoughts.
Okay.
Okay. We're not just going to tell our clients, hey, don't think about the session because you're going to screw everything up.
Yeah.
However, we could say, don't think about the session because you're going to screw everything up. And if you don't think about it, here's the reward you'll get from it. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know there's an integration process. We know that the unconscious mind may take hours, minutes, days, months, weeks to connect everything together. So that's definitely worthwhile telling our clients about.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do this very logically and mechanically because they're out of trance. We're not trying to put them back in, so we can speak to them logically. The very fact there's an integration process means that there will be some better, and that's the key word, better success when it does all connect. So there's a reward there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And actually, if they think about certain things, it'll actually boost that reward they're going to get. So we're definitely going to tell them about the integration process.
Yeah.
We definitely need to tell them that the feelings they're having now is the integration process in action.
Yeah.
And the reason this is important because on many, many occasions, I would have clients call me days later saying, I still feel a bit trancy. I still feel a bit weird. I don't feel right. Is this okay? Have I done the right thing? Am I supposed to feel like this? And they're almost in a panic. So I want to let them know that, you will feel these things for the next couple of hours at least. It's actually meant to happen that way because of the integration process. Okay. And there's a simple suggestion we can give them. They're not always going to take it, but something they can actually do to actually help the session, help the integration process, and move everything along with speed. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's say I was your client leaving. Well, firstly, does that all make sense so far?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's say I was your client. I was about to leave your office.
Okay.
Remember, you're not giving me suggestions. You're not trying to put me in trance. Give me a 30 to 45 second spiel about the integration process and the important points about why you're telling me it and what I'll actually get from it, including the feelings I'm probably going to feel. Just run me through that. Let's just see where your mind goes.
Okay. You may be feeling a little lightheaded now, Scott, because there's many different feelings that people get when they just come out of trance. But I just want to reassure you that what it is there's some period of integration when your unconscious mind is running all the processes to make you feel better, to make this trance the most wonderful job going, and it's just gonna work. Now, you can, when you leave this office, you'll still feel this way, and you could feel it for 2 to 3 days. Some people have felt it for about a week or so. Now, all you've got to realize is that feeling there is because it's going to make you feel better in the long run, and you know that it's going to be there, and it's just going to make you feel better afterwards.
Excellent. Okay. So what you're instructing me, and because I have been through the session and I've trusted you up to that point to actually go into trance, I'm very likely going to trust everything you tell me right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, again, just to reiterate, we're telling them about the integration process because it is a fact. Okay, we're not just lying to them. It is a fact. Anytime we learn something new, there is a trial and error stage. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we're telling our client about the integration process. We're saying, you know, now that you're going to be leaving the office, I just want you to realize one thing. There is an integration process between what's occurred right here that I know was amazing. You got the breakthrough after, and the integration process will lead on into your life after this session. And I do want you to realize the integration process is your unconscious mind connecting all the good stuff together. Okay, and the feelings you're having now, don't be surprised if they maybe last for the next hour, next 2 hours, next 3 hours, whatever the case may be. You'll be safe, but just realize the more you feel those things, it just means the integration process is working harder. Okay, so we've given them a bit of a spiel about the integration process. Now I think it's very, very important to tell them about the trial and error stage that the unconscious mind will go through. So essentially the trial and error stage is letting them know that the unconscious mind, while it's going to connect and do its best to try and give you the best outcome you're hoping for, that it may make mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
And if it does make a mistake, who cares? Because it will fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to let them know the unconscious mind will get it right at the end, but it's going to go through, it's going to get a little bit here, it's going to be good, a little bit from that column is going to be bad, a little bit from that section is not going to be good. And it's just shimmying everything around until it gets the right pattern and the right connection created.
Yeah.
Okay, we can even tell them that, you know, whenever you've learned something in your life, you've actually gone through that process. When you first learned to ride a bike, did it happen straight away? No, of course not. You got up, you fell down. The next time you got up on the bike, you stayed on a little bit longer, then you fell down again. And then you got up on the bike again and you continued to ride, and before long, you'd found your balance, you'd shifted your weight here and there. And then once you got comfortable with that, then you decided, well, I'm going to start jumping the gutter or jumping over things with my bike. And then you went through that trial and error stage of falling over, then getting back up again. So we can give them a real life situation where that integration, that trial and error stage has happened. Yeah. Okay, so this time give me a spiel. Give me the integration process, which is just all the connections. But now let me know the connections will go through a trial and error stage. And we really have to make a point here to say something like this. And it seems a bit counterproductive to say this to a client, but I think it's super important. And again, you can choose to use this or not. That let's say a client leaves our office as a non-smoker, and then they go home, and we say something like, "Well, just realize this trial and error stage. You may go home and feel like a cigarette, and you may very well have one, but who cares?" As you go through this trial and error stage, I don't know how it'll happen. You might have one cigarette, and then enjoy it, and you think, "Oh no, the session hasn't worked." And then a couple of hours later, you feel like another cigarette, but realize something's already changing because you're not having the cravings anymore. It's just now more of a pattern. So you know something has shifted. And then you decide, you know what, I don't want it. And then a couple of hours later, the craving comes back. And you think, oh no, it's gone back to the start. You have one puff of the cigarette and it's totally disgusting. Okay, can you see how that would be counterproductive, but it would also be necessary to tell a client?
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, it might seem like, oh no, we're telling a client to smoke. I'm definitely not.
No.
Okay, I'm just being real with them at that stage and just saying, if you go through it, who cares? There's a trial and error stage. It will connect to you being a non-smoker, however that becomes, and whatever the unconscious mind decides to do at that point, just let it happen. Okay, so give me the integration speech again. You could look at this as an integration priming sequence.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. It's just a big off, isn't it?
Yeah, we do the priming the start to set up the session. Now we're doing a priming sequence to tell them how it's going to be after the session. Okay, so give me the integration. Let me know about the trial and error. and then give me a quick scenario of where maybe I've been through this trial and error stage before. Let's just see what you come up with.
Okay, right. So thanks again, Scott. I know you've got some funny feelings at the moment. Now, I just want to reassure you that these funny feelings are basically your unconscious getting all of the good points of the session to make you a non-smoker, weight loss, or whatever, getting all those good points together. Now, these good points, these fuzzy feelings, they could last minutes, hours, days. But I just want to reassure you that it is literally the process that's going through to make you non-smoker, weight loss, whatever. Now, the funny thing is I've just got to be straight with you on this. There is going to be a point when I like to call it trial and error stage, because there's been many times in your life when you haven't done things or straight away, because it's a learning process. And to be a non-smoker is just the same. It's like a learning, because you've got a pattern now where you smoke a lot. So of course there was a time, I'm sure you can't remember, but there would have been a time when you first started walking. And I'm sure that when you first started walking, you didn't do it straight away. You stood up and you teetered a little bit, and then you fell over. Another couple of times later, you managed to stand perfect. And then you started taking baby steps. And look at you now. There's no falling over, no nothing. So the thing is you know full well that this learning cycle does involve, sometimes it involves what would look to the uninitiated like errors, but they're not. It is just your unconscious trying to get the picture back into line again. So it's trying to get the pattern that will make you the non-smoker that you are now.
Excellent.
Does that sound right?
Pretty straightforward so far, right?
Yeah.
Now, yeah. I really want to reiterate, it does seem counterintuitive and it seems counterproductive to what we've done. But let's just be straightforward for a second. Your clients, let's put a number down for argument's sake. Let's say half your clients leave having an unsuccessful session.
Yeah.
They go home and they want to smoke again. Okay, we're not superhuman. We're not always going to get it. But what we're doing at this point is we're letting them know that if it does happen, it's all because of a higher purpose. Now, does this not sound like a suggestion for people who have failed? So if your client does go home and fails, and they think, well, I'm only failing because there's a trial and error stage, do you see how that works in our favor?
Exactly, yeah.
Because now it becomes a suggestion. They don't go home and fail and think, oh my God, my life sucks. They go home and fail and go, oh, I'm failing for a higher purpose. And they start looking forward to the outcome. They start looking forward to the success at the end of that.
Yes.
See how that does become a very strong suggestion at that point.
Absolutely.
So let them know if they fail, good.
Well done.
It's not that we're keeping this away from them like it's a secret. They go home and fail, and then they call us and say, oh, I'm started again. We've got nothing to go on. We can't say, oh, hang on, I forgot to tell you something, because it's too late by then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So we've given them the trial and error stage, and it is a fact. Okay. We've given them integration process. But there's something else we can give them on top of that that'll actually give them a higher reward. So we're actually going to ask it, well, not so much ask, we're going to tell our clients, and it's an option for them, that there's something they can do as soon as they get home that'll actually speed up the integration process, speed up the trial and error stage. They don't have to go through all of it so much, and they can just get things done straight away. Okay. And what we're going to ask them to do is, or what I would do with my clients, is tell them as soon as you get home, if you can, go have a nana nap. Go have an hour sleep and chill out for a while.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens when we sleep? Let's think of hypnosis in general. What happens when we sleep? What do you think is going to happen to that integration process once our clients' eyes are shut and they're dreaming?
Right. Basically, the way that I would look at it in layman's terms is when you are asleep, your unconscious does whatever it has to do, whatever it does. Your conscious is literally your critical faculty, or your critical factors, or your conscious part has disappeared.
Exactly.
So it's not going to sit there and try and analyze shit. It's just going to go, I'm going to go sleep.
Yeah.
Boom.
You do this every night. Every time you sleep and have dreams where there's symbols, events, feelings, characters, whatever, that's the integration process. What's happening at this point is the day that you've just had, or the main contributing thought you've had for that day, whether they're troubling, they're good, they're bad. The unconscious mind is trying to make sense of what's occurring and trying to give you lessons from it. Otherwise, we'd never learn anything. Yeah. We'd make the same dumb mistakes over and over. Now you might be thinking, well, I make the dumb mistakes over and over. It just means that you haven't quite got the message yet, or it hasn't connected yet. I know some people that have had the same problem for 10 years. Didn't we say the integration process could take years?
Oh, absolutely.
It's the unconscious mind trying to get it right. It's that trial and error stage. So while we sleep, you're 100% correct. There is no conscious mind interfering, because we know that as soon as our client gets in their car and starts thinking, well, I thought hypnosis was like this, or I don't think I was in trance, and they do enough of that and they pre-suggest things to them in the negative, and those negatives become a new suggestion inside the head that becomes a new problem. We know that's all conscious thinking. So if we say, look, just get yourself home safely. As soon as you get home, if you can afford to, jump into bed, turn the light off, have a sleep for an hour, just rest. It just means there's no conscious interference. And it means, like you said, the unconscious mind can get to work and it will do things quickly.
Yeah.
And think about how we feel after a session. Don't we usually feel a little bit exhausted, a little bit tired from a hypnosis session, especially if it's a deep session? And we know how good we feel just psychologically after a nap. They're called power naps for a reason. So a client's going to wake up feeling good because of the nap, but also realizing, and they've got a reward, thinking, I just had a nap. Everything's working in my favor now. I've just sped everything up. So do you see how it's just all win-win for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say a client says, I don't want to go home for a nap. What other things could we suggest they do? Because remember, we're the authority, so they're probably going to listen to us. What things could we suggest they do that would take their conscious mind away from thinking about the session? What other things could we suggest?
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Excellent. What else?
Do a bit of retail therapy.
Yep. Retail therapy. Spend some money. Yes.
What else? I wouldn't say go for a drive.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're feeling a bit dozy, because again, if they're feeling a bit dozy with trance, the last thing I want to do is go for a really long drive. So I'd probably go do that. Drink a lot of water. No, I drink a lot of water, but I do that anyway, but that's not going to take their mind off it. Walk. Go to the gym.
There you go. Excellent. Anything that'll take their mind off it. Gym, go for a walk. I probably wouldn't suggest go have a coffee with friends, because what's the conversation going to be about?
Exactly. I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Okay. Go see a movie. Go do something that's going to absorb your conscious attention. Now, people listening might be saying, well, won't they go into trance if they're in the movies? Won't they go into trance if they're walking around? It's the same thing. Won't they go into trance if they go to sleep?
Exactly.
Let's imagine they go see a very inspiring movie after your session. What a great way to pack down the unconscious.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because at this point, we know when a client goes into trance, they're very suggestible. So if they go see a movie that they enjoy and have fun with, what are the suggestions they're getting from it? Fun, happiness, inspiration. It's just movie's just a big metaphor. So this adds to the validity of the session you've just taken them through. Okay, so run me through it. Run me through the integration. Give me some clues about the trial and error stage. Let me know of the mistakes I may make, but also let me know, give me some suggestions of what I could do to help speed up the session.
Okay, that's a great idea. Right, so Scott, I know you've got some feelings at the moment that are a bit not normal. So I just want you to let you know that this is a very good thing, because we call it the integration process. What it is it's your unconscious mind linking up all of those good points that make you into the non-smoker that you are. Now, the thing is it's not going to happen. It's not going to do it perfectly all the time, first time. Because if you think about it, when you were first walking, you never learned to walk straight away. It was more of a sort of trial and error sort of way. You'd stand up, you'd hold on to something first, then you'd fall over. Then you'd stand up and, oh, you don't need to hold on to anything anymore. So, that's pretty good. And then before you know it, you're walking. And before you know it, you're running. So, of course, this is how the unconscious mind actually learns to do things. So, and it does it all by way of connection. But just before we go, what are your plans for the rest of the day?
Well, Simon, I wasn't quite sure. I've got the rest of the day off. I just don't know what to do with myself from now.
I tell you what, this is a really good thing, because what you can do because there's many things that we can do to speed up the integration process. Now, what you can do if you've got the day off is great. What I would suggest probably would be go home, and if you can do it, have a little nana nap just for an hour or 2 hours, because what it'll do is it'll make the unconscious speed up the process to join the dots together. That's really good. If you can't do that for whatever reason, if it's a bit noisy or whatever, go and see a movie. Go and see a great movie, or put the telly on, feet up, watch a movie at home, that sort of thing, or go to the gym. Just do something that will really empower you and make it reinforce everything, because that's just the way it is.
Excellent.
It's just a bit, yeah.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Very straightforward.
Okay. Now, we could all sum this up as we're preparing our client for possibilities. Would you not rather your therapist tell you, to get down to your level and tell you what it's really like, rather than keep stuff from you?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's say you went home and it hadn't told you about this integration process, it hadn't told you for days you'd be feeling a bit trance-like, and you were going through a trial and error stage, and all this stuff unfolded in front of you, and you had no idea how to address it completely. How would you feel about your therapist?
I wouldn't like it.
I wouldn't like him either. And the fact is, every one of your clients will go through it, bar none. The only way they're not going to go through it is maybe if you've just done a session that had no impact. Maybe just read a script and they didn't even go in the trance, they just listened. Yeah. Of course, you're not going to have it at that point, because nothing unconscious happens. But if your client comes out of a very deep trance, you can rest assured that they will go through this trial and error stage. It's going to happen. So I want to prepare my clients so it seems like I'm looking out for them as much as I can, even when they're outside of my the safety of the session itself. I want to let them know, just be honest with them and tell them these are the possibilities. But the good thing about these possibilities is this is the positives you'll get from it. These are the negatives. I just want to let you know off the front. But also we let them know that, just because you go through them, okay, everybody else does too.
Yeah.
So they're not alone in that. Yeah. Okay. Does that all make sense of how we can close everything off, prepare our clients for the big bad world, and give them possible tools to handle these things coming up?
Yes.
Okay, so now we've cleared that, I want to just get your opinion on a couple of things, because something I get asked often. It's always interesting to see how other therapists, being in your professional status, deal with this sort of thing. One question I get asked a lot, and I think it's a valid question, I'm sure I asked at one point. Let's say you're working with smokers. Okay, smokers being the most common one we're going to work with. Let's say after a week, what are your thoughts about calling up your client and asking them how they're doing with everything? What are your thoughts on that?
I probably wouldn't.
Okay, why would you not do it?
Because it would look, if you were phoning me, let's say you said, I've got to cut this off early because I want to phone Hope and see if she's still not smoking.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say, don't do it, because it would, for Hope, it might make her think, why is he asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Did something not happen correctly or to plan? So yeah, and when I did this in the UK, actually, they actually advised us to avoid clients if you met them out like the plague, because they will avoid you like the plague as well.
Yes, I agree 100% with you.
Because they'll never come up to you and go, you would never say, let's say you go to Coles after this, and you saw something, you'd never go up and go, is that erectile dysfunction okay?
Yeah. How did everything go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to think it like this. Let's say we make a phone call. Okay. Yeah. And I agree 100% with what you're saying. I would do exactly the same thing. I'm in the exact same boat as you. We make that phone call and we're not thinking clearly about why we're calling. We're just jumping on the phone quickly, just between another appointment or just before we go and be social or do something. And our voice comes across like this. Hi, Simon. It's Scott here from the hypnosis office, just seeing how everything's going. What's wrong with my inflection right there?
It makes it sound like you're a little bit worried, I suppose.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, in fact.
They've left our office feeling like, wow, Simon was the authority. I trusted him. The session was great. He prepared me for this integration process. Now he's calling me and he sounds a little bit worried on the phone, like maybe it seems like he's done something that he doesn't want to tell me about it, he hasn't told me about it, and he's about to reveal what that is. What's going on? Why is he calling up to check up on me?
Yeah. Right.
If he's prepared me correctly and reassured me that although the session's great now, possibilities of it, unfolding a little bit later, but it's all good if it unfolds because this is the process. He's prepared me for it. Now he's calling me up to check. It just doesn't make sense. And all it takes is that worriedness in our voice from the authority standpoint for them, like you said, to turn around and go, well, maybe it didn't work. He's the authority. Now he sounds worried. Should I be worried too?
Yeah.
And then those negative thoughts start to come across. Now, people argue things like, well, how do you know if your client has, what are the ratios? How do you know if your client's quit? There's arguments both sides. And unfortunately, I don't think anyone's better than, any side's better than the other. Okay. All we can rely on, and this is just for myself, I know that if I'm not happy with something, let's say I've purchased something or I've been to an event, I didn't like it. Maybe it's just my personality, and maybe you might be the same. I will call up and let that thing know, or let that person know, or let the company know that what I've purchased, whatever, I'm not happy with, I want my money back.
Yeah.
We've got every right to do that. So I expect my clients, if it fails, for them to call me instead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's if it's worked, because if they don't phone you,
yes,
then you've just got to assume that they're happy.
Yep, absolutely. You can, you rest of your clients are paying a lot of money, possibly $300, $400, $500 just to sit in your office and you talk at them. There's not a lot of value. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of value they're getting from the session. They're just paying you money and you're talking. So that's a lot of money for, not even just for the everyday person, just for people in general. So you can be pretty sure that if it doesn't work or they're not happy with your service, they're going to want their money back. They're going to want those refunds. So I 100% agree, and for people listening at home, you can treat it any way you want to. These are just some points to realize that if you are going to make those phone calls to check up on your clients, I would suggest calling them up for another reason. Okay, you're not calling them saying, how's the stop smoking going? You might be calling up to say, hey, I'm just seeing how the integration process was. Did you get your nap in? Did you go see the movie? What movie did you see? It was just a quick checkup, just to say hello, and just wanted to touch base with you.
Yeah.
I've opened up the conversation, then I would expect for them to say, oh, well, as a matter of fact, I haven't smoked for a week. And you go, great, let's talk about that now. Or if they say, well, actually, I wanted to call you, it hasn't quite worked properly, then you can address it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It can be a little bit of a difficult phone call to play with, but I want to call up and say, hey, did you go see that movie you told me about? I was just curious, what movie did you go see?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not calling up to go on Simon. I'm just giving you a call. Have you been smoking again? Just let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. So that just covers that question. There's one more thing we can actually do, okay, that I think is important for us as therapists, to leave our clients in a good place when they leave our office. Not just the integration process, not just the trial and error stage, not just letting them know about what they can do to speed things up, they can have a sleep, and not letting them know they're going to go through this process. What else could we do to prepare our clients for the possibilities of it all going to, excuse my language here, to shit? And the problem may be coming back, or them even smoking more or getting more anxious. What else could we say or present to them that would put their mind at ease?
Good question. Oh, I love these half hours of me going, yeah.
It's important. It's the integration of learning.
Of course it is. Of course it is, because before I have these lessons with you, I think I know it all, and then you go, right, riddle me this one, Batman. I have no idea what you're talking about. So what else could we do? Well, we told them that it's trial and error.
Yep.
Not going to say anything about preparing to fail, even though I would have. No. Seems like a bad thing. I would. Oh, mine's gone blank. Got to be honest.
Well, let me give you this, okay? There's a couple of ways you can play this, and it depends on how you are as a person. It depends on your personality. I've known you for quite some time now, so I would probably say you're going to do the same thing as me. One thing I always used to love doing when I'm finishing a session is let my client know if anything comes up that you're unsure about, I'm here for you.
Okay, yeah. That sounds good. Yeah.
That's just being humanly nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I'm not doing is this, and this is important. I'm not saying if you feel bad about things or things don't work out, you can book me in again.
Oh God, no.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
What's the notion that I'm presenting with me saying you can book me in again?
It is saying you're going to fail and it hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm. And it's also saying if you fail, it's your fault. You need to book my time again.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
At the master's certificate, well, not the master's certification, the certification we just had, somebody was talking to me about smoking, and they said, "Do you do follow-up sessions with the client?"
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "No, never."
Mm-hmm.
For the same reason. So, you know, you can get them, you can do it, but they kind of come to you. You would never say to them,
100%.
book me.
Yeah, you know, and to reiterate on that, absolutely. We want to say, we don't want to be saying, well, you know, this smoking process we go to takes 5 sessions, because now I'm setting myself, I have to do those 5 sessions because that's my promise. Instead, yes, absolutely, you may have to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 30, 40, 50 sessions, but you want them to approach you. I want to be so confident in every session I do that that's not even a thought. Okay.
And also, you saying it's going to take 5 sessions, your unconscious is going to go, great, I will actually do everything that I need to do at session 5.
Yes, agreed, 100%. Yes. It says, well, you've said 5. The first 4, I'm not even going to pay attention, but I'll do it on the 5th one because that's what you've promised me. The unconscious mind takes things literally.
Of course it does.
Okay. So in regards to what we were saying before, if we're saying like, you know, if anything goes wrong or you need to talk to me, you need to book me in, that just puts some money value on things. By saying, and we've got to be a little bit careful of this because believe me, some clients do take advantage of this. And we do have to let them know we do have a life. They can't be calling us at 1 o'clock in the morning, standing outside McDonald's. They can't figure out what to do. But I want to let them know that, hey, you've been kind enough to allow me as your therapist to help you through this. I want to let you know, even though you've left my office, I am here for you. I'm here to answer questions. If you've got any concerns, just let me know.
Yeah.
And this is the response I would normally get, would be, well, do I need to pay you for that time? No, you've already paid me for the time. This is just to let you know that I'm here for you. I'm a caring person. This is part of my role as a therapist, is to make sure you get the most out of the session. Now, however, if you find that, you know, this problem is gone, you think, well, I can use hypnosis for something else, then yes, absolutely, I'm going to charge you because that's our agreement. And my clients are like, fantastic. Do you realize the amount of referrals and the amount of follow-up sessions I got from just saying that for different problems filled up my diary week after week?
Absolutely. Of course it will.
And my clients understood that if they wanted to come in and talk about the smoking thing, that was not free of charge, so to speak, but it was like, you know, that was the part of the agreement we had. But if they say, you know what, we did the smoking thing and now I want to look at weight loss, I didn't even have to ask them, you know, are you going to pay before the session? They used to come to the session money in hand, ready to go, because they knew the deal and they knew I was going to look after them. It'd be like buying a new car and then having the salesman call you up and say, I'm just checking up how the car is. I want to let you know I booked you in for a free car wash. I'm going to send some vouchers out your way just to say, you know, thank you for your business. Wouldn't you send all your friends to that same car salesman?
Oh, absolutely.
He's gone the extra mile, so we need to go the extra mile as well and let them know that I'm here for you. We do care, and we're not just doing this for money, okay? We don't want to let them know that, hey, if you need my time, you need to book me again, because that just leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And if they leave with that bad taste in their mouth, what are they going to think about the session? All the negatives. And then, of course, the problem's going to come back because they'll start suggesting that to themselves.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to wrap all that up is basically just, we need to be very nice and caring for them after the session, after the fact. But we also have to draw that line to say, you know, you can't call me here, and here. That should come as part of the conversation anyway. But we're not just saying, hey, if you need to come and see me again, you need to book me in because I'm that great of a therapist. No. They're spending that time and their money and their confidence with us. We'll let them know we're going to be there. We're caring for them. Now, it might seem something small, might be something really irrelevant to say, but you'd be very, very surprised of what it does to your clients' thinking once they leave the office, because that's the important part. That's where all the bad stuff can happen. They leave thinking it's just money, it's just negative, negative, negative.
Yeah.
They'll leave going, wow, he prepared me for the possibilities. Plus, he said, they're going to look after me, even days after the fact. That was a brilliant experience.
Yeah, that's right.
And that just adds to the value and the whole experience of hypnosis. And I think if more therapists would do this, more hypnotists would do this, hypnosis wouldn't have such a bad name.
Yeah.
Okay. So, wrapping up, any questions at all about how to wrap up the session, or we could call it packing down the unconscious and leaving our client prepared? Any questions about it all?
That was very, very straightforward, very informative.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, and it was a lot of logical stuff. Now you can look at those things as pre-hypnotic suggestions. So, the normal pre-hypnotic suggestion is to say something like, the next time you come into my office, you're going to go 10,000 times as deep. I'm not interested in that real showy type stuff. I'm more interested in preparing my client for the big bad world ahead and not letting them go out there alone and me putting my hands up and going, well, you deal with the world. I'm not going to help you from this point. Okay. So when you got your clients, give it a go. See what happens. See if they actually view hypnosis differently. See if they view your business differently. And just the results start to speak for themselves. And the more you do this, the more convincing you'll be about the process, which means you'll gain more authority. And as you start doing this more, what I was finding, the more I did this, the quicker the integration process become. Why? Because I was believing what I was saying.
Yeah.
And it all started to unfold really, really quickly at that point.
Yeah. Would you do the whole packing down the unconscious? Would it take like 5 minutes? Would you like to do the last 5 minutes of the session just on that?
Yeah, I probably would give it. I would definitely make it a point of doing it when I remember to do it. Absolutely. I don't want to be saying it to them as I'm walking them outside, because they're not paying attention to me at that point.
Okay, so you do it. So how you feeling? Yeah, I feel great. Yep. Do the testing. Right, before you go, I just want to let you know.
Excellent. Yep, and you open up with that conversation. Yep, so the testing's done. You've demarcated them. You've done that little pattern break, and then you say, look, just before you go, I just want you to take these ideas away with you, because they're going to help the session we just did. Spend a couple of minutes doing that. Shake their hand. Get them out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do give your time to this. But like anything, if you forget to do it, you forget to do it. That's just one of those things. But I always want to make a point of, when I had it in my mind, like it's coming up to that time, I want to put a lot of effort into doing it. And just like I would prime the session with as much effort as I could, we know to set up the session is important. Okay. Yeah. Closing down a session is probably even more important, because you can't fix it along the way because they're out of your control at that point.
That's right.
Where at the start you can adjust. If the priming hasn't done well, you can just prime again throughout. But at the end, once they leave your office, that's all you can do. So I want to put a lot of emphasis and a lot of effort into doing that.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
So any questions from any of that?
No.
Okay, pretty straightforward, but I think it is crucial. I think it's very, very important. It shows our authority as well, and it shows our kindness as a therapist at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
So no questions at all?
No.
Excellent. All right, so I'll leave you with those thoughts. Again, if you do have questions about it, let me know. Okay. But keep that in mind. See how you're going to do it. But again, you put your own personality in this. You put your own spin into it. Just like you put your own spin into your priming, you just add bits and pieces, but the context will call for what you add to it as well. Do I talk about the smoking, the weight loss? Do I put all that in? That'll come with the territory you're in as well, as far as what your client's coming to see in the context of why they're there as well.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, buddy.
Okay, sir.
Excellent. Well done. We'll